Today we will talk about an ideal clinician who all of you would want to become clinician, because doctor is a clinician who from the bedside of the patient is able to remove his tears and bring smiles to his face. So that is the great job of a clinician which he performs day in and day out. And today we are going to study the A, B, C, D and E of how to be a good clinician. A stands for availability. And availability comes from a boring absence. That means you must understand that absence is bad. And you must resist absence. And the second important characteristic is punctuality. So important is punctuality that in the great epic of Ramayana, they have said, "Ka barsa jab krishi sukhane, samay beet punka pastane." And before that, they have said exactly what is a medical emergency. They have said, "Trashit" means thirsty, bar bin without water, jo tanu tyaga if somebody dies, muhe kare ka for the dead what will an ocean of nectar do, muhe kare ka sudha tadaga." That's why timely actions in medicine are extremely important. And all these come by availability, absence of absence, and punctuality. The B of a good clinician is behavior. And behavior shows. Good behavior is your inborn ability to remove tears and bring smile to the face of the patient. Your genuineness, your being a good human being is crucial to this behavior. And who is a good human being? परहित सरिस धर्म नहीं भाई, पर पीड़ा सम नहीं अदमाई. मधुबन खुशबू देता है, सागर सावन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है जो औरों को जीवन देता है. So the person who lives for others, who lives for removing tears and bringing smiles to the face of people, has a persona of good behavior. Persona is how the world will look at you. Those characteristics by which the world will look at you. And that persona is beautiful, that lives to bring smiles to the face of people and wipe tears. The C is competence. In medicine, the method of study is what is the normal structure. What is the normal function? How is it supported by a normal chemistry? what will happen to it in disease or abnormality, and how to correct it by medicine or surgery or counseling or rehabilitation. So, being able to use this knowledge acquired during your preclinical and paraclinical years on the bedside of patient will give you competence. So ultimately all this knowledge is based on retrieval. If you cannot retrieve properly and in time, your knowledge would become useless. And therefore this retrieval has to be practiced. And how is it practiced? That every time there is a problem in front of you, that is the patient, you collect data about this. Your data must be comprehensive, that means you must leave nothing. Valid, that means you must correctly elicit whatever is elicitable. If you think that if you find that there is a liver enlargement and there is no liver enlargement, you will go wrong. And you must be precise. That means every time either you will elicit it or somebody else elicits it, the data value should be same. And this is called as inter-observer or intra-observer agreement. Repeated measurement should reveal the same values. So collection of data, this has to be practiced. And collection of data about common problems that you encounter in your field of specialization. Then you must be able to interpret data in view of your basic knowledge of normal structure, function, chemistry, medicine, surgery, counseling, rehabilitation, how to correct it by these methods. And this is how you interpret data. And then you come to a conclusion, which is called as diagnosis and differential diagnosis. The diagnosis and differential diagnosis consists of site of lesion, nature of lesion, cause, effect, association. The site tells you a lot. For example, if there is a headache, there can't be a problem in the foot. The nature can be congenital, traumatic, inflammatory, which can be because of infection or infestation by something which is foreign, or because your defense mechanism is acting against your body, infective or immune. Neoplastic, which is benign or malignant. The malignant can be primary or secondary. Then degenerative, like osteoarthritis. Metabolic, like diabetes. vascular or paralytic. And sometimes none of these, which can be taken into miscellaneous. But if you diagnose rare things, you will be rarely correct and you will rarely pass. If you diagnose common things, you will be commonly correct and you will commonly pass. Now, what you are seeing as a diagnosis is the effect. This diagnosis may have a cause and an effect and an association, and all these must come into the component of this diagnosis. What is a differential diagnosis? It's a diagnosis which has less chance or less probability of occurrence. Less probability. So you can have many differential diagnoses in descending order of chance or probability. Then all this data that has been collected is at bedside without use of special aids. So this is called as clinical or bedside data. And the diagnosis that you make by this is called as clinical diagnosis. Then you can add some special measures like investigations, which includes imaging investigations like X-ray, CT scan, ultrasound, which can include biochemical investigations like sugar, hemoglobin, which can include microbiological investigations to identify the organisms that has infected, like culture, like sensitivity, all these investigations. And there may be some other investigations. So you have to plan in each patient what additional investigations you need. They should be not invasive, as less invasive as possible, not costly, and extremely informative. Extremely informative means that there should be less false positives and there should be less false negatives. They should not give you wrong information. And then you plan the treatment. In the treatment, you have to assess effectivity. You have to list all possible treatments. You have to compare to choose the most effective, the least costly, the safest. But the most important is, it must be doable. If it is not doable at your center or by you, then you must refer the patient with full information to somebody who can do the most effective, least costly and safest treatment. And this you have to do as Pitumatra Sahayak Swami Sakha of the patient throughout your life to become God-like, because doctor is very near to God. To become God-like, you must continue to do this throughout life. The fourth thing is D, or dexterity. And dexterity is when your thought converts to action. The action should be perfect. And every small action is important. For example, handwriting is important. For example, being able to communicate is important. And dexterity is skill, and skill comes by practice. करत करत अभ्यास ते जड़मत होत सुजान रसरी आवत जाते सिल पर होत निशान. If you keep on swimming on your bed in the air, you will never be able to learn swimming. Therefore, when you are actually thrown into the swimming pool, then only you will know no swimming. The fifth thing is empathy. You must feel with your patient, and you must be able, except that you should not fear as much as he is fearing, because if you fear, you will spoil your thinking and you will spoil your thought and action. Therefore, you must not feel the fear of the patient, but you must feel everything with the patient, and you should do to your patient exactly what you would have got done for yourself. So, if you keep on developing into your personality this availability, behavior, competence, dexterity, and empathy, then ultimately you will be an excellent clinician, and you would be a good human being.